Hi, my name is Kiki, and today I'm going to be talking about the food profile of Greenland. So, for this presentation, I'm going to be talking about Greenland. I'm going to be talking about their food production and water potability, then about emerging technology involving the food industry. Fourthly, I'm going to be talking about economical, social, and political factors affecting their food security. And then I'm going to be talking about food distribution, and lastly, kind of a summary on Greenland's food security. So, about Greenland. Now, Greenland is a big, unique Arctic landmass, which is situated in the North Atlantic Ocean, and it covers approximately 2.2 million square kilometers and is the world's largest island, known for its stunning remote landscapes and extreme weather conditions. So, the capital of Greenland is Nuuk, and the flag appears on the right of this slide. It's red and white and has a circle in the middle. Greenland's population is relatively small, with around 56,000 residents, and the majority of the population are Inuit and Danish. So, with the Inuit people making up a significant portion of the population, particularly in towns and settlements around the coast, that's a big part of the culture there. The country's land is dominated by ice and snow, with the Greenland ice sheet, which covers around 80% of its landmass. And this vast ice sheet is the second largest in the world after Antarctica's. Now, Greenland is environmentally influenced by the Arctic location. So the country experiences long, harsh winters, and they have very little daylight in the winter. And then in the summer, it's a short summer and they're pretty cool. Now, climate change is kind of important to this presentation as it's a pressing concern for Greenland, as rising temperatures are leading to the melting of the ice sheet affecting global sea levels in Greenland and affecting like the traditional life for many people in Greenland who require and rely on the hunting and fishing there. So first, I'm going to be talking about agriculture in Greenland, so the food production there. So Greenland's harsh climate with cold temperatures and a short growing season limits agricultural possibilities. And the majority of its land is covered by the ice sheet, like I said before, which makes it really unsuitable for farming. And as a result, the country relies on imported food a lot, which can be expensive due to transportation costs. And basically, because it's unsuitable for farming, it's hard for residents there to get the nutrients they need, like from fruits and vegetables. And because fruits and vegetables are such an important source of nutrients, it's kind of a problem in Greenland because it's a little more difficult to get these, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. So hunting and fishing is also really big in Greenland. This is like kind of traditional to Greenland. Fishing and hunting are crucial to the food production in Greenland because this is like a really great source of protein, and traditional Inuit food like fish, seals, and whales and more play a vital role in the diet of residents. And these are vital sources of lots of nutrients, like I said. And a problem with this is that climate change is impacting the availability of these foods or resources. So, like I said before, climate change is going to come up a couple times throughout my presentation because it really is a problem that's kind of impacting the diets of these residents. Next is water. So, water is essential, obviously, to everyone's diet. It's a macronutrient, and it's really important for a lot of our bodily functions. And Greenland has a big availability of water because of its location. Obviously, it's an island, and also because of the melting ice and snow, which provides a source of fresh water. And while there is a high availability of fresh and potable water, there's a risk of contamination from pollutants and pathogens, especially in really populated areas. Because of this, wastewater management in Greenland is super important to ensure access to healthy, clean water for the residents. So, because Greenland, like I said, has really harsh conditions, it's difficult to farm, there's been some technological advancements which have kind of increased the production of certain foods in Greenland. So one I want to talk about is a really big one is greenhouses. And because the growing season is so short in Greenland, greenhouses have become essential for the production of veggies and fruits. And these controlled environments offer protections from the cold and allow residents to grow veggies, fruits, and even herbs too. And greenhouses basically have a heating system and artificial lighting, which allows us to extend the growing season because, like I said, in Greenland, the growing season is super short. Now, another technological advancement or type of emerging technology that I thought was really interesting is hydroponics. And I've never heard of this before until I conducted some research. And it's basically a soilless farming technique. And it's gaining a lot of popularity in Greenland. It involves growing plants in a nutrient-rich water solution. A hydroponic solution can, or yeah, hydroponic system can operate year-round, and it makes them really well suited for this like Arctic weather. And this technique is mostly used for growing green leafy vegetables, like the picture you see on the bottom right, and sometimes also for fruits and herbs, but that's more so greenhouses. Now, these can be super duper helpful in Greenland because, like I said, short growing season, not really great climate for growing. So these are a great way to locally grow produce. Next, we're going to be taking a look at the economical, social, and political factors which affect the food supply and production. So, firstly, because Greenland is Earth's largest island, the country encounters its own unique challenges and possibilities when it comes to food supply and production due to its isolated location and environmental circumstances. So, first, looking at economical, one thing is the importance of exports. This is really crucial to Greenland's economy. Their economic stability is really affected by international trade agreements, imports and exports, like I said, and their ability to export seafood products specifically because of all the fishing they do plays a really important role in generating revenue for the country. And there are lots of foods as well as like agricultural products which are hard to grow in these conditions, like I said, which are imported really often. Access to these markets and terms of trade agreements impact the profitability of the fishing industry and consequently food availability. Now, for exports, major trading partners of Greenland include Denmark, Portugal, Latvia, Russia, and more. And for imports, major trading partners include Denmark, Sweden, Spain, Germany, China, and more. And imports, one main one being food, is really high cost because of the isolated location. So transportation fees is a big problem. Now, another economical factor affecting food production is investment in agriculture. Because Greenland's agricultural industry faces challenges due to the harsh climate, government invests into different factors to increase growth and resilience in this sector of the economy. So government will invest, which is government spending affecting the GDP of the country, the government, etc. So next, I'm going to be talking about the social factors affecting it. One thing that's big, like I said, there's a big First Nations population there, and so dietary preferences and cultural food traditions are really affecting the demand and the production. So indigenous culinary traditions like consumption of seal, whale, fish, and the other seafoods reflect the cultural identity, but also shape the demand for specific food products, which influence local supply in Greenland. Another social factor is urbanization. So, as Greenland experiences demographic changes and urbanization, there's a shift in dietary patterns, and urban areas usually have more access to imported foods and to like processed foods, which can impact the consumption of locally sourced foods. And then the tradition the transition to new diet habits can impact Greenland's food supply and demand. It'll change with the times, like everything does. And then for political factors, one thing, like I said earlier, is government spending. So depending on what political party is in power, there will be decisions made on what and when to spend government money. The government will decide whether or not to support certain industries. So this is crucial because the government could choose whether or not to support the let's say agricultural industry and make those technological advancements and how much they want to put into it to try and help grow the industry, which can really affect food security. And then another one is decision in trade. The government makes decisions on who their trading partners are, which can really impact imports and exports and where we get it from. Climate change management is another one. Policies related to climate change have impacts on food security. This is because strategies that are kind of addressing environmental challenges, such as the melting glaciers and changing weather patterns, can affect the food production system. So the government's responsible for trying to combat climate change, which hopefully will help with food production in Greenland. So next I'm going to be talking about the food distribution in Greenland. So firstly, local food distribution in Greenland is primarily consisting of foods from hunting and fishing, also a little bit of produce from what I said earlier with the greenhouses and whatnot. But basically, indigenous peoples in Greenland, particularly the Inuit, rely on fishing, like seafood and hunted foods to get essential nutrients. So things like fish, whale, seal, and other seafood, like I said before, are really popular. Another big part of food distribution in Greenland is import. So, like I said, due to harsh climate, and this icy land, Greenland needs to import food so that the population can achieve a balanced diet to sustain them. Food items such as fruits, veggies, dairy products, and non-local meats are typically imported. And imports, like I said before, are primarily from Denmark and other countries. And when imported, Greenland does face a lot of logistical challenges, including high transportation costs. Food is also distributed out of the country in exports. Greenland's main export is seafood. Like I said, tons of fishing. And things like fish and shrimp are some of their most popular exports. Okay, so next I'm going to be talking about food security as a whole in Greenland, summarizing all of that into what I think about their state of food security. So, food security is defined as the condition of not having access to sufficient food or food of an adequate quality to meet one's basic needs. So there's many factors that are affecting food security in Greenland, one being imports. Because of the climate, Greenland does require a lot of imports. I've talked about this in a couple different sections of my presentation, but the population is reliant on these imports to sustain a healthy, balanced diet because they can't produce enough to keep that balance on their own. So Greenland becomes really vulnerable to factors like exchange rates, supply chain problems, and global food prices. Therefore, the population of Greenland doesn't have sufficient food resources locally, which can kind of cause food insecurity because they are so vulnerable. Next is high cost. Because of the location and climate, food in Greenland is at a higher cost. I talked about this before about importing, the transportation fees and whatnot makes it really expensive. And it's not really affordable to the whole population. So lower income people will have more trouble achieving a healthy, balanced diet, which again is kind of showing the food insecurity there. Lastly, climate change. The effects of climate change can also cause food insecurity. The inconsistent weather, melting of glaciers, and all that really affects food sources like fishing and hunting. And this can create challenges as food becomes a lot less accessible. And so Greenland's really vulnerable to climate issues, and this creates food insecurity. Thank you so much for listening, and my sources are linked in my other document. I hope you enjoy.